My friends, welcome to Talk Casual. We're broadcasting live here in the Outer Rim at the Fly Casual headquarters. As always, I'm the Grand Master of Salt, but tonight we have a very special guest with us this evening or this morning, depending on where you are. One half of the Ion Radio YouTube channel, Master Manipulator of the Red Dice, Lord of the Structural Damage. It's Ken Jack. Welcome, sir. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Lord of Structural Damage. The first time I heard that, I had jumped on to, I think it was the German Armada Discord. And as soon as someone realized who I was, it's like, although they said it in German, but it's like Lord Structural Damage himself. And I've gotten a kick out of that ever since. I think on my Discord little description, it's like, yes, I am Lord Structural Damage. So
Yeah, that's where I got that from. So I just wanted to make sure that we have the Lord of Structural Damage here today. So yes, it is nice and early for Ken at the moment. It's a lovely 6:30 in the morning for him, and it's a nice 9:30 for me at night. So thank you so much for joining us this morning/evening.
my pleasure.
All right. So, what are we going to talk about today? Well, unless you've been, not hearing about the news, but we're all aware of the drop of the news that AMG did on the 13th of June. Some people saw my live reaction to that news an hour after that. And thank you for all those people who did contact me. I was a bit downtrodden, a bit, beaten. I'm fine now. So I've gone through all the griefs, the stages of grief and all that. I'm doing much better. But there is a reason why, and we have this man to talk us through it. Ken, can you, for those who have been living under, first off, actually, before we go, we start with the questions. How are you doing? How did you take to the news, and how have you gone about it, like with the grieving process of what AMG has done?
So I think there's kind of, and this will lead into some of your other questions, so I won't get into too much detail.
Yeah,
But I think, and I'm going to speak for John about this also, because I think when we saw the news, John and I both kind of laughed.
yeah,
And it's because we knew it was coming. It was less that the announcement was made and more the timing of
right.
when it was made, because it seemingly came out of nowhere. And I have my suspicions onto why that may be, and perhaps it has to do with the timing of this. We just got news of a new Legion
Yeah.
version, effectively. So I wonder if that doesn't have something to do with my why mini extravaganzas in July instead of September, because
Mm,
usually it's Adepticon's the front bookend and mini extravaganzas the back bookend of the tournament season, not
of
tournament
course.
season, convention season.
Convention. Yep, yep.
Uh, so the shift was weird, but I digress. So I mean, was it happy news? Absolutely not. I mean, it sucked
Yeah.
to hear that one of our favorite games is kind of going down the road of not being supported anymore. Having said that, John and I kind of already knew that that news was going to be coming, and without getting into too much detail, we'd been preparing for it. So, the downside is a lot of what we've been working on, we couldn't talk about.
Of course.
And there's still a few things specific to it we can't.
Of course. Yes. So
But
for
that
those,
is,
yeah,
go
sorry.
ahead.
So for those viewers who are joining us, you can ask questions. Will be some question you can ask to Ken. There are some questions he cannot answer due to what he's working on, NDAs and all that. So if he does say he can't answer it, I'm not going to push him, and that's part of the deal here we're having here today. All right. Sorry, go, Ken. You're going to
No, I
say
was going to say what's funny is a lot of those NDAs are Ion Radio imposed. So go figure. So if I decide to break one, I guess I have to yell at myself.
no, and then fair enough, fair enough. All right. So for those who have been living under an asteroid field, can you give us a big rundown of what of the Iron Radio press release that did come out on the 28th of June?
So for those Exergorths in your audience, what we basically did with the press release is Ion Radio had submitted out a thing saying, you know what, we got the sad news that Armada's no longer supported, but we're putting together, or I should say, we're working with, we're kind of doing both, putting together and working with a group called the Armada Rule Set Collective, which now that's been touted about quite a bit over the last few weeks. So
Yes.
ARC
Yes.
is the name of that group. And this group's primary purpose is to continue tournament play, or I should say, managing rules and whatnot to maintain that organized tournament level play, moving on into the post not supported series of Armada. So it all will begin after Adepticon 2025. Although, as Admiral Tater likes to point out, the Richmond Open, I think, is still supported at GT in May. So technically, I guess, but for all intents and purposes, after Adepticon 2025,
Yeah.
which we will be streaming at, by the way, so come watch us on Ion Radio.
Definitely do.
Um, and Mars, hopefully you'll be at Adepticon next year, and we get to hang
Well,
out again.
well, the boss has given me the green light to come over again. So
Awesome.
I do have plans to be in Milwaukee. So
Yes, we're going to be a little further away from home,
yes.
so I have to pay myself mileage for that. But anyways,
Mm,
uh, so with ARC, it's organized play, it's tournament play, it's competitive play, and maintaining that rule set, along with any quality of life type changes that might need to occur. And I'm thinking the stuff that irritates everyone. Now, what are we actually going to be doing? I can't say, but I've seen the first group of stuff that they're starting to look at, and
nice.
I'm pretty excited. So it's
Oh, that's
all
good.
good things
Fantastic.
from what I'm hearing.
That's great to
Now,
hear.
I a full press release from ARC is coming out soon.
Right.
By soon, you have a little trademark logo that goes at the end of that.
Yeah.
But what I will say is we're getting close to Gen Con, and we're hoping to have something out either right before or right after. There's a lot going back and forth right now to make sure wording is correct and everything else.
Yeah.
And a lot of this deals with the fact that, again, we're following the Atomic Mass Games IP
Yeah.
policy
Yeah.
because we don't want to violate that. And
Yeah.
the big important thing here is we don't want to have an effort that we've been working really hard on for a while to go away because we say the wrong thing or
Oh, yeah.
step out of line.
Yeah.
And the last thing we want to do is ruin something before it begins. So we're being very careful and very cautious
Yeah. Yeah.
in moving forward. I'm not
Yeah.
sure I actually answered your question.
No, no, they did well. It's a good one because right now we're still technically under AMG's rulage. We're still
Mhm.
doing, their rules, and we're still doing their tournaments. So nothing has changed as yet. So
Correct.
yeah,
Correct. And that's the other thing to remember. It's still Atomic Mass Games. They dropped a huge bomb with Legion. For all we know, they have a
yes,
Rapid Reinforcements 3 that's going to come out, and we're going to get a Chewbacca Commander or something like that, and a points reduction for Han Solo that Ryan wants. That is going to ruin the game. So what ARC's going to do is they're going to take a look at that and say, no, here's how we're going to fix that. Akin to like Anakin Skywalker. That's kind of what ARC's really looking to do that first year almost. It's just to maintain that competitive
okay.
play. Because if we play in Melbourne, if we play in Chicago, Milwaukee, we're going to play in where else do we play? All around the world. Whether you're
Holland,
in Spain,
Germany,
Poland, yeah, Germany. If you're playing in Ireland, but in any case, wherever you're playing, if you're into tournament, you want the rule set to be
yeah,
consistent,
and
because otherwise it's chaos, and then it's no fun that way.
And that was one of my main concerns when we did get to that news, and everyone was kind of going onto their splinter groups, going, "Oh, I'm going to have this rule. I'm going to have that rule. I'm going to bring the fly casual interdictor is God rule or something like that." And that's one thing I didn't want to come to a store and say, "Well, what rule am I playing today?" So, and to see your press release coming out and to have that strong, force, that strong view that coming from you guys that the community does respect is really good to see.
Well, I think the other key thing, and this is something that I've been working on with the folks that head up Adepticon, is they are very interested. I was speaking to the guys that run Adepticon before the announcement, or right after the announcement came out, I should say. It was
Yeah,
like the same day,
yeah,
and the big key was they're like, you know what? Hey, look, this is still a big, vibrant game, and if there's a call for it. So I mean, if there's 7 people that show up to Worlds in 2025, then this all kind of probably won't happen. But
right,
if we get another 100 players, I mean, that's a big number of people that want to play Star Wars Armada, and if
of
we can
course.
continue half that.
Mm.
or more at a community run event. This is something that Adepticon wants to continue to have. They want to make sure they made a press announcement for both Armada and X-Wing saying
I know.
there's
Yeah.
always going to be a place at Adepticon. So I've been
Mm.
working with them to make sure that we can have the ability to do a community run world's level event. And they've been very supportive of that. So I have to give a huge shout out to the folks at Adepticon because it gives us that anchor.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of details that need to be worked on with
Of
that,
course.
revolving around space and people and prize support and everything else. And a lot of that is being looked at and taken care of. And yes, just in case there's any question, there are thoughts of if something gets put together, we're going to make sure you guys get stuff in Australia, even if
Well,
I have to hand deliver it.
we'll get to those questions as well because there was that kind of asking about the Australian side of things. Hence why we're kind of you've done the circuit right these days, doing every content creator. So mostly about the US, but we wanted a bit of an Australian flavor happening at the moment. So leading on to what we've been talking about, you preparing this stuff. My next question was, how long has Radio has been working on this? Can you give us any background on when you started thinking this was going to be needed?
So what I'll say is when you start hearing rumblings that Armada's going to stop or being supported
Yeah.
was once it became a reality. Like I said, we already knew what was going on. We had everything pre-planned. I think probably we started seriously planning what could happen, I want to say in February, so about 4 months before the announcement occurred. So it was pre-Adepticon.
Pre-Adepticon. Oh, okay, wow.
And it's not that I knew anything,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but when you start talking to folks, and this goes and dates back to Adepticon 2023,
Mm.
was when I started hearing the rumblings in a more than just a, oh, Armada's
God,
dead again. I mean, it's where you start hearing things,
how many
right?
times have we
Because,
dead anyway? So
well, let's see, the game came out in 2015, so at least 18 times.
exactly.
Uh, it was when I started hearing serious rumblings, probably in April of 2023. So it's
Right.
post Adepticon. It's like, oh, maybe there's actually something to this. And that's when I started reaching out to various different people and getting, for lack of a better way to put it, the ducks in a row so that if it happens, we had a path forward. And then we started seriously thinking about it. I want to say February of this year, where it's like, okay, we don't have any good reason to believe it's going to happen
Right.
anytime soon, but let's start preparing for it.
Yeah.
What threw us off was that announcement came in mid-June and we were expecting September at the earliest.
Right.
So, we had to do kind of a mad rush to go,
Yeah.
wait a minute. That was a hectic, probably week. And I
Week.
know I
Yeah.
reached out to a bunch of people. I think I reached out to you as well, saying,
Yeah.
don't worry, I'm working on something. So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
relax. Um,
Because yeah,
eh,
that week was basically everyone's going, well, let's do something, let's do something, extra release something, let's do something. Everyone was trying to get their ducks in a row, and I was like, whoa, okay, slow down. I don't know what's going on. I don't, And then you came along and said, don't worry, I'm working on something, and that must have been the most, as I said, the most hectic week for you to get that press release out.
it was interesting, but I know that before a lot of those announcements went out, like I said, I'd been meeting with the folks at Adepticon, and I don't mind saying that I was in kind of the same meeting with it was me and Dion Morales from uh,
Okay,
Gold
Gold
Squadron
Squadron. Yep.
podcast and X-Wing, and both of us were talking with the folks at Adepticon in the same meeting, and it was the exact same thing with here's what we want to do with X-Wing, here's what we want to do with Armada, and it's like what can we do with Adepticon? So, it's that level of seriousness, and I'm like, okay, we've got something that we could potentially do here. Let's not screw it up. So that's why I'm like, all right, hey everyone, just relax. We got something coming.
Yeah.
Just give us time. And in terms of arc, right now it's kind of set for the time being while Armada is still officially supported. Does not mean that it's not going to change or that it won't grow a little bit or we might see a little composition change. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And now here's where my self-imposed NDA is going to get put out because I don't want to call anyone out or do
Yeah.
anything that could
Yeah.
impact the situation.
Of
There we
course.
go.
No, fair enough. Fair enough. Now, Now, there's people, of course, still doing their side things and doing their other things. I'm not going to name things because you see it out there. It's happening right now. There are, casual players, kitchen players, and all that. So for those players who aren't really decided, like it's like for those who might not be sold what is happening with you guys, can you give us your best sales pitch for what you're going to like, how you're going to sell these players that saying that you're the right call to to join or
So here's kind of an interesting answer to that, and the real answer is I'm not going to try and sell it ourselves because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how you play with plastic spaceships. If you're having a good time, you're having a good time.
yeah, yeah.
Because who doesn't want to have a rebel quasar, right? I'm sure
No.
you've done it
Oh,
at least once.
not me. Ian wants that. Ian's like, oh God, I wish I have the Rebel Quasar. The Rebel Quasar. He always talks about is the Rebel Quasar.
Sure.
So I'm I'm
I
an I'm an Imperial person. So I'm like, you're not getting it. No.
well, say I just stole one and I put it in my rebel list, and there's a reason why there's not a quasar on the rebel side, because it's you
It's
don't
yeah,
need that many X-wings to be activated at
yeah,
once. Um, but here's the thing: is when you start looking at the player base for Star Wars Armada, and I truly mean this, and we have some statistics to kind of back this up in terms of who watches our channel, and who watches Worlds and everything else. And the interesting thing is probably 85% of the people that play Armada are hanging out on their kitchen table with the same 3 to 5 friends
yeah,
playing the game.
yeah,
And that's great. I'm willing to bet at least half are getting a few rules incorrect in terms of the competitive, this is the right strict way to play, but they're having fun. And that's, I think, the important thing.
yeah,
And that's why the big emphasis of what Ion Radio wants to do in terms of the community run level of Worlds at Adepticon and working with ARC is to impact just the tournament scene
right,
because that is the group of competitive players throughout the world that want to play that type of game.
yeah,
So are we really looking to impact the kitchen players? Not at all.
no,
Is what we're going to do potentially going to impact them? Absolutely.
yeah,
Because if you have folks that are in that group, you have that group of 4 people that play Armada on the, in someone's basement. One of them's on the discords or on the forums going like, ooh, that's neat. I want to try that. Or, hey, here's a rules change. We have to change how we're
yeah,
playing things. And those folks are going to say, oh, okay, well, let's try out one at some point. Let's say ARC and I put out, here's a new rule that we're going to try. Um, or we're changing, or here's a new ship, pipe dreams that are so far down the
yeah,
road, Mars, that I might, have gray hair instead of, the color I've got left. But those players are going to say, hey, this is neat. We need to look at this and keep going. Or you're
yeah,
going to have one of those groups or one person in those groups at the
yeah,
kitchen table and say, I want to test my skills out a little bit deeper
exactly.
and I'm going to go to the store and I'm going to try. And that's when they usually learn, oh, I've been playing advanced gunnery wrong.
All wrong.
This is the squadrons get to move and shoot. Oh, that's cool. I
Or
can
how
use a
or how
token
overload
later,
pulse works.
right? Or how overload pulse works. Exactly. But and then they learn, and then all of a sudden they're going to do one of two things. They're either going to go back kitchen table, say this isn't for me,
Yeah,
or they're going to say this is cool and I've been missing out on so much. I need to do more.
yeah,
Those are the players we're looking to work. So it's a conscious decision that the players make to want to get into competitive play,
yeah,
and then that leads to your store tournaments, your regional or national tournaments, depending on where in the world you are,
yeah,
dictates which word you use, and then you get to worlds. Those are the groups that we're looking to impact. And
yeah,
again, it's we want to provide that same play experience in terms of the rule set being used at all those events. So that's really the golden goose there, or the
yeah,
golden egg, I
yeah.
should say.
Because another thing that you want to for these kitchen players is to maybe they want to dip into competitive play. And as a community leader myself, we want these kitchen players to come and play, because that's how communities grow. You just can't. There's not a way to bring new players in without those kitchen players. And if we have a rule set that everyone agrees upon, instead of going, well, which rule is it? Then these players will feel more comfortable coming in. So that's where something has to go. Hey, this is it, not this type scenario.
Pretty much. And
Yeah,
it what it definitely does not do is it does not put you in a position to say if you go to a store,
This is
you can't agree with your player to bring the quasar for the rebels. Don't do it, folks. Don't do it. Or you can have different ships that are homebrewed. You can always do
yeah.
that.
Oh
It's
yeah.
only when you get to the competitive play that
Exactly.
that's really impacted.
Exactly. Beautiful. Thanks, Zach. Now, you've done the circuit, you've done the 13th fleet, you've done downsize it, you've done the circuit of content creators, and it's mostly been focused on, of course, where you live in the States. So I just want to talk about our Australian viewers that are watching right now, and well, the question is, as an Australian player, what can I look forward to the future of Armada? A statement talks about tournaments OP. What can we look going for for as an Australia player?
Well, I'm not going to limit the number of regional tournaments you guys have that are sorted out to the new level of community level play. If you want to have 6 or 7 of them, go for it. And like I said, if at some point we can put together like an OP kit, like here's some nifty prizes or whatnot that we can get out to you. Like I said, if I got to jump on a plane and go visit you,
Hey,
my wife may have to come along. But that's probably cheaper to deliver you guys some kind of
sometimes it
package.
is, yeah. Hey, and there's the Melbourne GP's always here. This,
I don't know if I come out there, I might destroy everything with all those structural damage decks that I've got to bring. I mean,
and
I don't
also
know that that's a good thing.
I also come. I'm supposed to be coming every year to Adepticon, so there's a good courier there happening there for you if you need be.
Well,
So
okay, so I'll have to give you here's all the cool stuff that we've got for you. Yeah, I don't actually know what we're going to wind up doing
yeah,
in terms of anything like prize support or OP. There's a lot that we're talking about, but there's so many rules and regulations that could fall under what we can and can't do. And of course, the big thing is if I have here's my nifty little prize kit for 16 people, and here's some cool alt art cards and everything else. It's gonna be like, here you go, it's free, enjoy. It's community run. I can't sell it to you because that'd be wrong.
yeah, exactly.
Um, so there's a lot of things that if anything's done like that, it's going to be people dedicating time and effort and their own funds to make sure that other people can have a good time. And I think that's the key here,
Yeah,
is that this effort is no different than you're running your local group at your local stores. It's the same kind of community driven effort where you always have that one guy who's going to bring their entire collection to make sure every new person has an opportunity to fly something and be like, hey, I got some extra cool cards. Here you go. Enjoy.
yeah.
Or like when I get your stuff, your commanders and whatnot with little fly casual logo. I love those. I occasionally throw those out on the table and people are like, that is so cool.
Yeah, yeah, and then some when I got your range one rulers
Hmm.
from last year's Adepticon, just handing them out and just seeing the eyes of new players go, "Oh wow, is that for me? That's Ion Radio. That's totally cool." It's like it's awesome just to give that love to the community, especially for the new
Hmm.
players. Even when like we have tournaments right now, when you have new players, it's like we all have all this promo cards. Give it to the new guy, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh." So
Oh,
yeah.
I mean, the new guys love the engineering captain cards.
I've got a wall plastered of them. Yeah,
I
I'm sure.
it's mine's right over there, so I mean I'll mail a couple to you. Yeah, I got to shout out Admiral Tater for making out a lot of
Yeah,
those
uh,
markers,
yeah.
and he outdid himself this year with the ship
Oh,
markers
ship
instead of the
markers.
squadron ones. And we did get permission from Adepticon to create those and use their logo. So again, huge shout out to them. Man, I'm
Yeah,
really shouting out Adepticon this
yeah,
this time through.
yeah. And shout out to Admiral Tate. It's just the quality of work that he creates. That the rulers that I've got from him, and just yeah, it's amazing what he can do.
The man is a machine. He does not stop
I
working.
know, I know. I've heard he's just nonstop. It's just like it's amazing. But good on him though. It's
Hmm.
well done for him. All right. So the next question is: can you explain the roles and the functions of ARC? So, going on this, that the press release did say about ARC, and everyone was asking the question: what is ARC? What's ARC all about? Are these the names on the bottom of the list? Are these the members of ARC? I'm like, first and foremost, I am not a member. I've signed my name agreeing to what Ken has said, and I'm full agreement of what he's saying. But ARC is a totally different thing. Can you explain to us what it's all about?
So yeah, I felt that with the Ion Radio press release, we were talking about we have this group arc that we're going to reveal, and it's in process of being made, very early stages. And what I had done is I'd been spending probably about 2 weeks, letting TOs and judges and other content creators know this is what I'm doing. If you have questions, let me know. I'll answer them as best I can. But is this something that you're interested in supporting? Is this something that you have questions about, etc.? And I spent a lot of time going back and forth with different groups, kind of saying, hey, what do you think about this? This is what we want to do. Because one thing that John and I had agreed on from the get-go was before we decide we're going to move forward with actually putting the time and effort into making this a reality, if 3 people are going to support it and 2 of them are me and John, this isn't going to work.
No.
Which is why it was critically important for me to get like your support, the different judges throughout the world. I've got Black Admiral over in Poland that said this is a good idea. Um, so the people that are listed on there, and that list keeps growing. So I update
Yes.
the online PDF every time someone says, I want my name on that. So don't necessarily check the pictures. Go check
No.
out the link because you get the full list. But these are the people that are directly supporting the effort in terms of I think this is a good idea, and at the time of the press release, this is what I think is important, and what I'm going to support moving forward into the post Worlds community run Armada thing.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily who is in ARC.
Correct.
Uh, as an example, John and I have our names right there on top. We're part of Ion Radio, and if someone's going to get crucified for it, it's going to be the 2 of us. But like, we're not necessarily ARC.
Yes.
Now, having said that, it does not mean we are not directly involved
Of
with what
course.
ARC is doing. It's not an Ion Radio thing, but we're so closely intertwined into what's going on there. It's distinctly separate, but it's something that we are involved in, I think, is the
Exactly.
best way to put it.
Yeah. Cool.
So there'll be other people that are actually directing the efforts and everything else like that are going to be involved. I believe we're going to try and announce some of that with the press release that ARC's going to have out in the near future. We might not give the specific names. We might give more roles. We might give 1 or 2
Right.
names. I think that's kind of what's currently being thought
Okay.
up and figured. What do we want to release? But there'll be more information on what the purpose is. But uh,
So I just Arc are just like, are they play testers? Are they people that know what's in the background of how Armada works?
so that's actually probably a good segue into what I'm trying to figure out of what I can and can't say.
Right.
So think of it as a group that's going to be everything from your core team that's effectively going to say, all right, here's what we're going to try out. Let me think up an example. Let's pretend rapid reinforcements 2 is what they're working on. It's like, here's some commanders and some squadrons we want to change,
Yeah.
and they're going to come up with, this is what we think needs to have happen, and we're kind of kicking it around internally. And then it kind of goes to a little bit wider group for playtesting, and then they're going to go back and say, this is the dumbest thing we've ever seen, we're never going to do this, go try it again, or whatnot. So it's a little bit of everything, but it's not just that. It's also individual reaching out for tournament play and rules answers and things like that.
Right.
Now, the development and playtesting bit is going to be something akin to, okay, Anakin Skywalker just dropped, this is not good, we need to fix this, how do we fix it? That's going to be their initial kind of push on that side of it. The other side's going to be, here's where we need to clean up some rules and say, all right, here there's like 3 different ways to view this particular card interaction. What is the correct way to do it? And the first thing I'm thinking up is at Worlds, I think it was Mac that brought up something along the lines of the Purgle
Hyperscopation.
moving,
Yeah. Hyperscope. Yeah.
and how you can knock it off the board. So I mean, something like that, this group's got to look at and say, okay,
Yeah.
this is the right way to handle that.
Yeah.
Um, to be fair, we have some very deep thinkers in the Armada community, which makes sense because
Yeah.
Armada is it's a complex game. There's some complex rules interactions. So you're going to have 3 different people that look at
Yeah.
the same interaction 3 different ways. And this is the kind of quality of things that ARC's going to be looking at, which, I mean, if all they're looking at is how to deal with Purgles and how they get moved around, mm, but there'll be more than that in terms of but that's kind of their key
Yep.
focus for that
Yep.
first year,
Yeah.
because I don't think too much is going to change right off the bat.
Of course.
Now, a year into it, well, now we have this data that we've collected from community run stuff. What do we want to see? What could change that could have a positive impact on the game? The key mantra, though, that we've been going back and forth on, and that John and I keep saying, this is something we have to keep in mind. If you change too many things, the game ceases to become Star Wars Armada.
Yeah.
So the squadrons always have to move the way the squadrons are. They can't just magically become a little token that goes on the board and here's some green eight-sided dice that deal with squadrons.
Yeah.
Well, that's no longer Armada. And,
Yeah.
and that's something we do not want to change. So we're being very careful on anything we're even talking about or thinking about, that it all centers around maintaining the integrity of the rule set of the game. And again, that's the primary goal here, is
100%.
is keeping that game alive so that we can keep going for a handful of years. And who knows, maybe an FFG or uh, who's the guys that just picked up HeroScape? Renegade, I think, picked
Yep.
up HeroScape. If they want to pick up Star Wars Armada, then that'd be cool, and then they can take it over from us, and then my stress levels go down. So
And you get your hairs back.
I get some of my hair back, which is, although that's not a problem I
Not a
seem to
problem,
have.
but look, yeah, hair color.
Hair color, yeah, there you
Yeah.
go.
So yeah, I've heard the stories with large package and Karnak going backwards and forwards on rules. So yeah, that'd be something that's highly going to I'm sure that large package is going to stress out the ARC committee on what's going to happen going forward onto that. So that'll be interesting to see. So those kind of things like. Just a couple of things that I'm thinking of that like your FAQs that FFG dropped and
Mhm.
your forum questions, they're still going to happen with ARC controlling those kind of issues. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing that they're going to do. And again, a lot of that's going to start post Worlds,
Yeah.
because right now, if you have a question, you're going up to Dennis Problems on the
Yes.
Discords and the forums, because he's the official source of
Of
all those
course.
answers.
Of course.
So I mean, he's one of two people I talk to if I've got a weird question, like, I think I'm doing this right, but remind me. Um, that's kind of again, the key thing is a lot of this is prep work for 9 months from now.
Exactly.
But again, to do something right, you have to put in the time, the effort, and
Yeah.
really think through everything.
100%.
So there's a lot of things we're talking about. How much of that's actually going to happen? I don't know. Half, 5%,
Yeah.
um, all of it.
And
We'll find out.
yeah, and I've got to give you props, Ken, for taking that mantle. As when I kind of looked, I'm like, yeah, I don't have the time or the mental strength to do that kind of stuff. But for you guys to come out and to show the force of that press release and I fully back you guys. As I said, to put my name on that sheet of paper for you guys to take charge and hopefully elevate the game or continue the game to what it needs to be.
Well, we're going to find out, won't we?
Definitely. All right. So the next one is, what is your best and worst case scenario for what you're trying to achieve with Armada?
Well, I mean, worst case scenario is we functionally do nothing. That the first time ARC tries to do something, no one agrees to it, and then everyone decides we're going to play Armada the way we're going to play it. Now, the downside of that is then you get like 20 different splinter groups, and Armada won't last for too much longer. So that's the worst case scenario. Having
Yeah,
said that, I think a lot of us that are playing competitively will probably take a full year or two of, we'll just play with whatever the last rule set that's official, and we'll just continue doing that for a
exactly.
while.
Yeah,
That's, I think, worst case scenario, and that's very extreme. Best case scenario is we keep Armada running competitively at that community level, and that everyone's happy and that everyone likes what's going on. And okay, maybe you got a couple things on, well, I really think the rule works this way, and this goes back to, what was it, Team Orange and Team Purple with the rapid launch base thing 6 years ago or whatever that was. Stuff like that inevitably is going to come out. But I would love to see that we get that first year under our belts. Everyone likes what ARC's doing. Um, and we can move on to, okay, now Ark's going to try releasing some new cards, and here's some nifty things we're going to try doing with the game, and that people are open to that and receptive to that, and that they realize that, okay, this wasn't just thrown together and put out. um, and then we see how that grows from there. But I think it's going to be a slow and steady
Yeah,
pace, because that's the right way to do it.
100%.
And and I know from some of the conversations with people currently involved in ARC, a lot of things that are being looked at is like, okay, well, what happens when we do this? Here's 5 things right off the bat that are going to have to be looked at in terms of how that would interact. I didn't think of the second one. So that's all that's happening right now, is those discussions, and the fact that they're thinking outside the box and asking those questions tells me that nothing's going to happen quickly. But it tells me that if anything does happen with this group, it's going to be very well thought out in terms of how it could have an impact on
Yeah,
gameplay.
yeah, 100%. That's what needs to happen. 100%. All right, that's my questions done. So I'm going to go check the chat now and see what we've got here. So uh, one of my friends, Asher, says fix the VSD. Um, so hope just throw that to Ark and fix
So
the VSD.
here's what I'm going to say on that. One of the things that I personally want out of this project, Wave 1 and Wave 2, where Wave 1 in particular was clearly designed around a 300-point Armada game, and
Yeah,
Wave 2 expanded that up to 400. I almost question if some of Wave 1, or Wave 2 rather, is still thought of as the game's 200 or 300 points, and maybe not quite run to that we're playing at 400-point level.
yeah,
So I kind of want to look at all that early stuff, Wave 1 and Wave 2, and say, what needs to be brought in line to kind of like what Clone Wars is doing now.
yeah.
And yes, the Victory Star Destroyer, which is my second favorite ship in the game, needs to be looked at and impacted.
Mm.
And as much as I hate to say it, I think the MC30 needs to be looked at, because that is way too tough of a ship for the point cost.
Oh,
So
oh.
clearly MC30s need to be 40 points, not 60. And only I'm allowed to fly them. And I should be allowed to have.
That's it. I'm done. I'm out.
Oh, that's okay. I've got good news for the interdictor. If Mars is flying it, he gets to do it at 60 points and gets a third refit on there. There you go.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right.
It'll be called the Mars refit. So there you go.
I'm sold.
Uh, no, in all seriousness, though, if we get to that stage where we can actually look at and adjust points, or look at some of these old ships and make a realistic effort towards it, I don't want to promise anything, but
Of course.
if that time comes up, yes, stuff like the Victory. Uh, and all the Waves 1 stuff, and probably the CR90, which needs to go up in price or no longer be allowed to take TRCs. Um, this is the kind of stuff that we're going to look at. Clearly, I'm not making the decisions of what's happening,
Yeah,
because I'm just going to tell you what I want, not necessarily think of the best thing of the game. This is
exactly. Same as me. I like fix the interdictor, make it cheap, have free slot,
right.
expansive slots.
And this highlights exactly why it's not an Ion Radio rules development or rules looking at or thing. It
Yeah,
is the Armada Rule Set Collective, which is a group of people that know what they're doing,
exactly. Exactly.
that are working on that.
And of course, always make eyesight great again.
Yes, why not? We should. Yeah.
I had to say that. Jonathan Ford's asking, come to Australia for a competition. So there you go. We've got Aussies, throwing down
All
the
right.
gauntlet again.
I'm writing that down right now. Go to Australia. And then I have to bring my wife and, whatnot. So I know my wife has family that lives out there. So
Yeah.
I forget exactly where. But
I saw somewhere in Brisbane. I feel you remember.
I want to say they're out in I think they're still in the Brisbane area.
Right.
So,
There you go.
yeah,
That's
but
it.
so I have to go there. But I know you guys are down in Melbourne.
Melbourne.
So
Come in
I will.
March. Go to F1. Let's go.
Oh, see, now you're talking my language. So, but see, that takes 3 days to do F1, maybe 4, if you get there early. So, 'cause you got to watch the qualifying races. Then there's all the separate events and everything else. But, I'll buy you a ticket, Mars. You can come with. So,
Ash is asking, bring store champs back. Of course, that's something that's on the cards. Of course.
I mean, to be fair, store champs, that again goes back to community run stuff, and everything that Ion Radio and ARC is doing, 100% is going to support that. Now, I don't know how we're going to support that, but I think store champs are great. I think you get that next level, which is more regional or country level or continent level events, and you get to worlds. Now, what would I love to do? I would love to be able to say, we're having open worlds, and if you win one of the 12 contests in the world, I'm going to pay for your ticket to join the event. I am not going to pay for flights.
You're not going to afford
Not
the
going to do
engine
that.
full. Got it.
No, I don't have that kind of cash. So now, having said that, if we start getting thousands and thousands of dollars in the Ion Radio Patreon, maybe I'll think about it. But it's
It's not
it's
going to
not
happen.
going to happen. No, a $40 ticket, I might be able to afford a few of those. $3,000 flight.
Especially from Australia. Yeah, no. We've
I'll
got
buy
a
you a beer.
sounds good. I love that. We've got Luke here. He's one of our South Australian representatives. He's from the state next over from me. He's
Mhm.
asking, will there be a rapid reinforcements free?
Are you talking about an ARC Rapid Reinforcements 3, or are we talking about a Atomic Mass Games Rapid Reinforcements 3?
Let's go for both,
Um,
both scenarios. Why don't we? Because
all
he
right.
hasn't said anything.
Is there going to be an Atomic Mass Games Rapid Reinforcements 3? If there is, I would like to believe it would drop. Well, it would have dropped already.
Yeah,
So the
exactly.
likelihood of that is pretty low.
Yeah,
Because the last 2 years it came out, what, April, I think?
yeah,
The only thing that gives me a little bit of hope, and I'm talking little,
yeah.
is that we got that points update last year in October. If we are going to get a Rapid Reinforcements 3, and I think there's higher chances of me making whatever your next store championship in Australia is going to be, which I'm sure is this weekend, probably sometime tomorrow for you guys. But no, wait, today's Saturday, isn't it?
Say Saturday, yes. So
Yeah.
remember, we're in
So
the future. You've
that's
already
right.
missed it already.
I've already missed it. So, so,
Just keep
so
living in
there,
the past, Ken.
yeah, I gotta stop. I'm not thinking fourth dimensionally.
Exactly.
Uh, I don't think a Rapid Reinforcements 3 is going to realistically happen through Atomic Mass Games. But if it did, it would probably come out in October. It would be the only realistic thing. So I would say if we are mid-October and nothing's come out, AMG's not going to release anything, and it's going to go till the end of the run, and it'll just. Wouldn't it be funny if, like, the day after World's Atomic Mass Game says, "Hey, here we go, Rapid Reinforcements 3. We're done with Armada. Bye."
Yeah.
Um, which that could be good or bad depending. Um,
That's well, didn't they FFG do that with Destiny? They just said, "Here's the stuff that we've been working on. Here's the PDFs versions of it. See you later.
I
Bye
think they
bye."
did.
Yeah,
Uh, so there's always that possibility, but in all reality, I just do not see Atomic Mass
yeah.
Games doing anything. And again, this is where I was thinking maybe we would see Atomic Mass Games stop or make that announcement. Armada is going to end in September, and maybe come October, it'd be like, here's one final release for you guys. The fact that we got that news a month ago,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
if they were going to do something, we would have heard about it in
Like
Extravaganza.
exactly. I was thinking something that, for me, what kind of disappoints me a little bit right now is that they're still part of OP. OP is still AMG, and there's this talk about these tournament kits that they have. That they have the Legion version now. There's supposed to be the Armada and the X-wing versions. They could even talk about that in Minister Extravaganza. So that's a lot of those things that kind of, it's like, forget it.
I would be surprised if we got store kits or whatever
Yeah,
for X-Wing and Armada, and maybe we will. And if we do, I think it'll be November is when we got them last year.
yeah,
So come in November, who knows?
yeah.
So
So yeah, for
we'll see.
rapid reinforcements straight from them, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 0 to 9.
Uh,
Arcs version.
from ARC, if
If hyper
if
mathematically.
there's a rapid reinforcements type thing, I doubt it would come out until Q3, Q4 of 2025. And a lot of that, here's how I'm looking at it, and the folks that are currently involved in ARC are looking at things. If we started something right now, today,
Yeah.
we're July. you're looking at 12 months at a minimum to really
Oh
truly
yeah,
give
yeah,
an
yeah,
idea its credit. So we're already past the Adepticon.
yeah,
So then you might be going to like October and kind of go there. And I said this on, I think it was 13th Fleet, where ideally what you have is, okay, you have Worlds at Adepticon, and then that next month, not much happens in April. Maybe you get a tease. And then May 4th, we start a tournament season, a community run tournament season. So
yeah,
maybe there's something that comes out right at that time. It's like, here's some points updates. And then maybe come October, it's like, we need to dial that back or expand it a little bit
yeah,
more. And here's our update.
yeah.
And then you have Worlds, and then the cycle repeats. Now, at some point, maybe we can say, here's a new ship. And now we're really talking down the road.
Yeah, yeah.
But let's say this works for 3 years. Maybe we want to release a ship. So here's a new ship that comes out, in that April May time frame, and like, that was a bad idea in October. Be like, no, we're not doing this
Yeah.
anymore. But I think anything that might get changed would happen in kind of those time scales. So like
Yep.
an April-ish thing and an October-ish thing.
Yeah. That
Nothing
makes
is going to happen like that. As do not expect on March 31st.
yeah. Just
Like,
bang, 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 bang.
Arc Rapid Reinforcements 3, and
Yeah.
here's 18 ships and 40 cards that have
No,
new points updates and
no,
everything
that'd
else
be
like that.
crazy. And
Yeah,
and any Armada player will know that it does take time for stuff to
yeah,
release. And we always, in the perfect world, when AMG did take over and they said it's going to take time, we were like, yep, that's okay. We get it. We totally
mhm,
get it. Like look at the SSD, how long that took to come out. So, and we were there. We were always there. So
right.
understandable.
So yeah, 12 to 18 months is a good timeline. So if we're starting to think about stuff now, Q3, Q4, 2025 is probably the earliest you'd see Arc actually saying, here's what we're thinking. Maybe one or two, if there's some minor stuff that clearly needs to be changed. Mac, I'm looking at you and Purgles. Maybe that'll come out in April. But anyways, this is all hypothetical stuff, and that's
Yeah.
about the most I'm going to say.
Exactly. No, that's fair enough. And thanks for that, Ken. And going on, Steve Bennett has asked the question of: is there a realistic possibility of completing the Clone Wars factions?
That would be a pipe dream where if ARC and definitely if Ion Radio is still involved, long term, would we love to do that? Absolutely.
Yeah,
And this is where what I would love to do, although I doubt it's going to happen, would be to get some like the old FFG developers to jump on board and say, hey, this is what we were thinking of doing, and this is kind of what we were going to do. But the number of NDAs and whatnot that
yeah,
they're under,
yeah.
it's never going to happen.
Of course.
But I mean, hey, if I could get two of those developers and give them a couple beers at a major convention, maybe I'll meet them up at Gen Con, right?
Exactly.
And maybe they'll let some things loose. I mean, they'll be like, aha, let me take some notes. Um, it,
Just to be a
if we were
fly
going,
on the wall on the
oh man,
FFG when they had the Clone Wars, like a map, and to
what
figure out what they had on the wall
what
would
what
be
gets
something.
me is I think it was before the announcement that it was switching to Atomic Mass Games. It's like we've got a roadmap for
Yeah,
Armada for like the next, I think they said 3 years.
yeah,
And from all the sources I have put together, it sounds as though there was a good solid 2 waves of Clone Wars stuff. I think they're pretty much done with Galactic Civil War,
yeah, yeah.
but
That's what I've
but
heard too. Yeah,
yeah, 2 waves of
yeah,
of Clone Wars, even 1 wave would be
yeah.
awesome. And I've heard some rumors on what they were thinking of doing, and I'm not going to really put anything out here because
No,
I
no,
don't know
no.
how much credence there is to any of it. But
Yeah,
uh, yeah, I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall for that. So would we complete Clone Wars stuff like that? The answer is if we have the opportunity to do it and we have community trust that we can do it right, then I think that'd be the earliest we'd seriously consider doing that. So if, let me just do some math in my head. Community seems to be happy. We're looking Adepticon 2026. People love what we did for a whole year. So go year and a half, 2 years, 27, 27, 2028,
yeah.
maybe. Now, maybe we'll surprise you and here's what we're doing 2026.
Plop, plop,
But
plop, plop, plop. Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
would we like to do it? Yes.
Yeah,
But are we going to?
yeah. No,
Stay
so
tuned.
exactly, and he goes on further on by saying, is it is just about maintaining the four factions, and there'll be will there be an exploration for additional factions? Again, that's probably the same kind of tune to that too. I'd say, yeah.
I mean, if Ryan Becker wants to do a scum faction or something like that,
Oh
he might.
yeah, yeah.
But
So he can put his
but
pirate Han
he
Solo in, huh?
he wants it's going to be Han Solo Commander with Lando Calrissian and like a YT or an HT 2200 freighter. Anyone that played the old West End games stuff knows what I'm talking about.
Mm,
Uh, I challenge Sam Witwer to my knowledge of West End games, Star Wars RPG stuff. There we go. And
yeah,
we'll see who can geek out harder. He'll win. Maybe
yeah.
not. Maybe not. I think I might have an edge.
See,
Um,
I jumped into the whole expanded universe with the X-wing PC games, so that's where I got all my stuff. So,
oh, I remember that. That was such a great game. That's why I
oh,
bought a joystick, because using your mouse to try and follow those TIE fighters like that
oh
was just
yeah,
horrible.
oh yeah,
Um, you know, a fact adding stuff to the game is easy. It's maintaining what you have that's really hard. And if you're gonna add something, you have to make sure it's a worthwhile thing to add, because you don't want to add scum to add scum. If you're going to add scum, it's because it does something intrinsically different to the game that people are going to latch onto and enjoy. And the other thing we have to bear in mind is we can't just make new models and say this is official Armada product.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
No one has the ability to do that
No,
outside of Atomic Mass Games. So if a faction was going to be added, there'd be a lot that has to go into that, to make that a reality. That is not something that's currently on the table that I'm aware of.
fair enough. Yeah.
Um, so, I mean, again, like I said at the beginning, what ARC really is going to be doing is maintaining that rule set and the
Yeah,
integrity of the game. Are we going to be adding factions? Probably not.
yeah.
Ask me again in 2 years.
Exactly, exactly. So yeah, we'll leave the any of those kind of adding extra bits to the side right now, and let's just wrap this up. I just have one other question that I've kind of come up with. As a community community person, a person who tries to keep Armada running, and to all those community people that do run tournaments, run events around the world, around Australia, around the US, wherever. What would be your advice to those members, to those people to say to keep those players coming in? What would you say to them?
Just keep playing the game. I mean, let's get down to it. I mean, let me look even my local meta.
Yeah,
We've got new players that have been joining since the announcement. Armada is no longer supported, and these folks over the last few months have been picking up. Here's a guy getting out of it.
yeah,
I'm going to buy their collection up, and I've got a smattering of ships. Encourage them to play. One of the worst things to do right now, especially right now, is to say you don't want to get into this game because it's not supported or anything else. I mean,
exactly.
it's not supported, but if someone shows an interest in wanting to play your game that you're passionate about, why would you say don't do it? These collections are going to come out. Venators are not going to be $400
Yeah,
forever.
yeah,
They're going to come down, and you're going to be able to pick up collections for $400 and have a smattering of ships that right now you probably have to spend 16 grand on. The point is, if the community leaders keep bringing new players in, then the folks that are tired of it and don't want to play anymore, they're going to go. The collections go to the new players, and the game stays alive. It doesn't mean you have growth in numbers, but you have a consistent number, and that's what you need to keep the competitive scene going. Because at some point, I hate to say it, but unless another company picks it up and actually can do real releases,
yeah,
the game eventually will slow down, and it'll be the same 20 people going to Worlds in 2040, uh, that are still playing because they won't give it up. Um, would I love to see the game grow beyond what it currently is? Absolutely.
of course.
But I
Yeah,
think I think the community leaders, the best thing we could do is just keep playing and keep encouraging the new folks to come in and do stuff. And you know what? I love, when I have new players that come in, and Mars, I'm sure you get this, where they realize, oh wait, you're the fly casual guy.
yeah,
You're awesome.
yeah,
I get that, from time to time. When new player shows up and like, your voice sounds familiar. Why does your voice sound familiar? And then I won't say anything, but
yeah,
someone else does, and that
yeah. Of
that that kind
course.
of ruins my fun. But
Yeah,
it's like they're like, "Oh man, can I play again?" I'm like, "Sure, let's
yeah,
play." And it's like, "Oh man, it's like you need one of these ships, and I might have it." And be like, "Here, try it." Or I love doing this. I usually bring 2 sets of tater rulers. Try these because it's going to work better than your piece of plastic
Yeah.
or your piece of cardboard.
Cardboard. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I mean, it just encourages the new players play games with them, and let them have fun and answer their questions. Because especially new players, when they start, they have questions. They're not into the game as much as we are. So you kind of got to go back a step and be like, I know these questions are things that everyone else here's not going to ask, but this is a new player and I want to encourage them to play. So talk to them. Tell them, hey, you played a great game. Here's a couple things you want to think about the next time. And I've even done this where I've put all the ships back out on the table and kind of just manually moved them around and said, okay, when you made this decision, here's what happened. I said, now what you want to think about next time if you get a similar situation is do this. And then their eyes light up and they go, oh, I could have blown that up. That would have been so awesome. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and if you have time, play another game. Um,
Exactly.
that's really the best advice I have. And right now, we know we have Worlds 2025, so there's a big event to be looked at. And if it is as big as it was last year, then I know that I'm going to be doing everything I can that there's a Worlds 2026.
Of course.
So we've got that to look forward to, and that's what I really hope we can do. And then it's going to be a year-to-year thing. It'll be kind of like Johnny Carson, where the question was asked, "Do we want to do another season?" Uh, but I'd love to keep this going for a while, and that's my goal right now is just to keep people playing Armada. And even
100%.
if Arc does nothing other than answer a few rules questions, if people continue to play, that I think is the most important thing. So
Yeah.
uh, whatever I can do to keep that going, people playing the game, that's what's important.
That's That's 100%. That's well said, Ken. And that's what I've been kind of telling everyone: just keep playing the game, just keep
Yeah,
playing it. Don't stop. Don't. And if you see other people interested, just get them involved, get them
yeah.
passionate about the game. So,
Mhm.
well said. Well said. All right, let's wrap this up. We're almost coming up to an hour now, so of course, we could talk for hours about
Oh,
Armada, but
easy, easy. You
easy.
have to go to bed though. I've got a whole day in front of me.
Ah,
So
I've got Sunday. Don't kids will poke at me and like, Dad, play with me. Play. I was like, hey, go away. Final thoughts. Anything else you want to add while we're here, Ken?
well, I will state this that anything I just said is 100% my opinion and not necessarily indicative of anything that ARC is going to actually do. But like I said, a lot of the questions were, "What if? Is this something you guys would consider?" So, um, a lot of things are on the table, but again, right now it's we want to keep the integrity of the game. In terms of the rule set, and that's the premise, and the goal is to have a community-run Adepticon Worlds or community-run Worlds at Adepticon 2026. Okay, there we go. That's the
Another
big
sip of
thing
your
that we
coffee.
want to do. Yeah. Okay. Let me hang on.
There we
Okay.
go.
Um, First off, it's been fun traveling out to the Outer Rim and being able to talk with you, Mars. Thank you for inviting me on.
No, thank you for waking up so early and joining us here in the total darkness of winter here in Melbourne. So big thank you so much for that. And yeah, thanks for speaking to us and giving us and answering my questions and our viewers' questions here today.
Sure. And if folks have more questions, I mean, they can always reach out to me or John on the Ion Radio Discord. We're kind of on some of the other ones. And of course, hey, Ask on the Fly Casual Discord. I pop up there every
You do.
once in a while. I didn't get to hide there either. You picked me out right away. That's not fair. I can't lurk
No,
anymore in Discords. But hey, ask if I can answer honestly. I will. I mean, I will always throw out. This is what I think I'd love to do, but
yeah,
um, it's hey, ask questions. I love the game. It's an enjoyable thing. I play
of
games that
course.
are 40 years old, and
Course.
so I mean,
Yeah.
uh,
Uh, to tell a
yeah,
person that I fly halfway around the world to play a plastic game, that's commitment right there. So
yeah. I throw my voice to it once a year, so
exactly. Yeah, you commit
I,
to throwing your voice for 3 days straight.
four
Four.
days, Mars.
Sorry, four. Yeah.
Yeah, it gets weak on that last day. so I have to take one round off usually on end of day two, beginning of day three, or I'm sorry, end of day one, beginning of day three. Like I gotta slow, or day two, I gotta slow down a little bit here for a day. I don't
Understandable.
talk much after Worlds is done. 15 games at 3 hours each stream. That's a lot.
It is. It is. It is. And I've done 2 days, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know how he does it. He must have some super coffee powers that I can talk. And
you got to stay tuned for. I've been cutting together. I know we're probably past time, but I'll throw this one out
it's still good.
for you guys who are flat casual. I've been slowly putting together all the little clips of. It's predominantly me and Adrian, although. Garrett gets involved in this, and John makes fun of me a little bit for the amount of coffee I'm drinking. But all the clips from Worlds 2024 that talk about coffee or how we're caffeinating ourselves, or occasionally tea, and I think I'm up to about 7 minutes of just good footage. And I think the whole clip's almost 25 minutes long of just everything, levels of caffeination, and the couple of oddball things that go on with that. I've had a few shorts that have come out, which I think are hysterical. But
Uh,
but I'm putting that all together just because I find that part of what we've been doing
oh yeah,
amusing.
and Garrett's nuggets of commentary that come out, it's just absolutely gold. Even Adrian, I love Adrian. He's such a top bloke, and of course my wife, she's seen a picture of it. She's like, oh my god, who's that guy? I'm like, oh, that's Adrian. I'm like, wow, we. I'm like, okay, I don't get wow, we. So
Adrian is great. I have to give him a lot of credit. He runs the local Chicago. Well, he's one of the primary folks that runs the
he's
Chicago Meta, and he's done a
a
lot
great
of
guy.
work to keep that going and building it up. And we were so grateful that he was able to join us in 2023 as part of the Ion Radio crew,
Yeah,
and definitely last year, because he brings a wealth of knowledge of the Imperial players. And one of the things that I did this past Worlds is make sure that we had, like Ryan and Garrett did almost an entire match. And I know that Adrian and John did. I tried to mix it up a little bit so you get some interesting interactions and different thought processes. And a lot of that kind of went to what's going on to the table. And it's fun listening to everyone's real deep thoughts on
oh
how that game runs, because it's a good group of people that work on the Ion Radio crew. And that I think is probably the best part. So now, yes, what I would love to have, because this is a question that comes up all the time, would love to have a bunch of other people thrown on there. But again, a lot of things we're doing with the last 2 years and this one coming up in 2025. It's a whole list of rules, regulations, things like that, and everyone has to be vetted before we can put something on. So if I'm told nope, then we're stuck. But
yeah,
uh, that's where we sit. So it's not that I don't want other
no,
people out there, but it is what it is.
you have to, yeah, you have to follow by AMG's rules,
Correct.
and Lucasfilm on top of that too, and Disney. So
Yeah, and we might as well throw Adepticon in there also, because anything we do that they've got to agree to us doing and everything else. But and everything down to using our backdrop
yeah,
is things that are up for questions with everything. So there's a lot of work that goes into being able to do the stream
yeah,
when we're
because
doing it, but a lot more in the months preceding.
I remember you telling me about your shirts as well. Like the font on the Arabesh on there was slightly different to what's commercially available. That was
So
just a mind blown just to learn that too.
so this is one of those shirts,
Yeah.
and this is the Arabush. We had that custom made by, again, local artist, so that it is 100% different from the actual Orabesh. So it's not actually officially Star Wars, but it's pretty darn close.
Close. Yeah.
And we do that because if it was the Star Wars font, we'd be that's IP infringement. So we're
Yeah.
not going to do that.
Yeah.
Um, and then like the Ion Radio logo, so it's a particular font. I think it's Monaco or something like that, that we paid for license to be able to use it and print it and everything. I think we have like 4 different licenses for the font, because if we don't have those licenses for the font, we're not allowed to print it, put it on posters, put it on our backdrops and everything else. So
Yeah.
John and I spend a lot of time making sure that what we're doing is kosher and fits and meets all the rules and
Yeah.
everything else. The one thing we can do whatever we want with is our logo because we own it, and it's in the Patent and Trademark Office in a couple different countries, I think. So, um, yeah, people have to ask to be able to use that, which is the only thing we control.
I am using it today, so just FYI.
Yeah, you're good.
I
You're
thought I
good.
was. All right. Okay. Again, big thanks, Ken, for joining us this evening. It was finally to get you on our stream for once. I talked about it and talked about it and talked about it. I finally got my ass into gear and got you on. So thank you so much for joining us this evening slash morning.
Yeah, definitely. This is a lot of fun. We will have to do it again.
Absolutely. Okay, guys, that's Ken. He's from, of course, Ion Radio YouTube channel. Make sure you check out their content. There is a link in our description below for their channel. And of course, they release Armada battle reports almost every Friday. Is that correct?
We used to do it every Friday.
Every
We're
two
we're
Fridays now.
I think we're on every 2 Fridays. We might be going to every three for a short period of time. That is
Okay,
life stuff. But
but
yeah,
there's
I
plenty of
think the
content.
plenty. I think we're over 400 episodes. So
Exactly. Make sure you check them out and make sure you subscribe to their good work over there. That's it for today, guys. Hope you enjoyed the program. I hope to see you very shortly. And remember, like, subscribe, follow us on the socials, and fly.
casual.
Yeah.